Hello, You-est You listener. It is Julie here as your host, and I am so grateful to be here with you today. This is a conversation that is so close to my heart. You are going to get to meet one of the brightest, most brilliant, wise, and just incredibly gifted souls I know. And for some of you, you might have met Reverend Fayden. She appeared a little over almost 2 years ago. So this conversation is going to be very rich. And I'm just grateful. I know you have many places you can be. Thank you for joining in today on this episode. Let me tell you a little bit about Reverend Fayden, who you're going to get to know. Reverend Fayden is an interfaith minister and an energetic success coach and co-founder of the Magnify Your Miracles membership. A master intuitive healer and spiritual counselor, Francis is fluent in the language of the human energy field known as the Chakra System and can quickly translate energetic information to help her clients heal and transform. In 2012, Francis had a profound encounter with Mother Mary, which changed the direction of her life and awakened her life purpose. She has been channeling messages from Mother Mary ever since. She loves working with highly sensitive souls. I am one of them, who have a big vision and mission and yet are seeking validation and personal guidance with their next steps. Francis says that by incorporating Mother Mary's guidance along with feedback from your own energy field and then applying the universal laws of manifestation, that is where miracles can occur. She is the author of the books Meditation is Friendship with God and How to Recognize God. Her passion is connecting people to the unconditional love of the divine and then teach them how to magnify that connection, which is the key to magnifying your miracles. So happy to have you here today.
Yay, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Julie.
Yay. It's like, so we chat all the time. I'm so grateful for that. And there are many times we've had conversations. I'm like, darn, I wish we were recording. This would have been an amazing episode. And it was about a week or two ago, we were talking about your next book that you're working on, Success is a Healing Path, which I heard you say that. And I literally had this like entire charge through my being. And I was like, okay, we must talk about this here. So let's start there because I think this is a topic, I know you do a lot of brilliant, beautiful work with highly sensitive with spiritual entrepreneurs. And this is a not one size fits all type of way of being. And let's just jump in. Let's talk about why this book, Success is a Healing Path, and what is it about? And let's get in.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned it and said, let's focus on this because it's really helped my own mind to become even more clear about what I've been observing over the last 25 plus years of working with my own clients, doing coaching work. The people that gravitate towards me tend to be highly sensitive, highly creative, people who have a big vision. They're here to do something big in the world, but they tend to struggle with what I call third and fourth chakra issues. Third chakra would be your self-esteem, your self-worth. Heart chakra would be the willingness to be seen and be vulnerable. And a lot of us come from dysfunctional childhood background kind of a thing, whether that's alcoholism or mental illness or neglect or, whatever it might be. And I think as highly sensitive people, it impacts us maybe even more than maybe the average person. And so it's something that's kind of present with a lot of the people that I work with. And I've just noticed that the typical hyper-masculine, go, break through that barrier, it doesn't really work. It doesn't work for me at all. And it definitely doesn't work with my clients. And yet I've been able to see, especially in this last year, which was a really challenging year, my clients getting really amazing results. And it made me go, well, why? What's different about it? And that's when I started to see that success, it's not a destination. I kept thinking that like, oh, I'll heal this and I'll heal that, and then I'll get there. And no, you don't get there. It's like healing is the path itself. And the more you are able to heal on the inside, whether that's your self-esteem or your ability to receive or whatever it might be, the success is proportional to that. So that's the thing I've really seen is that you go down to Barnes and Noble and you'll see book after book after book of how to be successful, and they're just not speaking to us as highly sensitive people, especially as women, but even highly sensitive men. Still, it's not going to work for you. There's a more natural process that I've noticed, and that's what I love to take people through, and that's what I wanted to share with you today.
I love this for so many reasons. Number one, being very highly, if you could be whatever high sensitive is, that's it.
Yeah,
And I know
empath.
many
Yep.
empath, many listening have identified that way. And I love what you're saying because, I know for me, and I'm assuming others listening, like I have tried the like smash this and break through that and, just get your goals. And some of that, might work, but that energy tends to be overwhelming. And I almost feel at this point, like I can feel my adrenals are like, so sorry, we're gonna just shut down. But I love what you're saying, that there's another way. And then that way is actually, it's a healing process. It's something,
Yeah.
and having gotten to work with you gratefully over these last few years, like I can tell you, I mean, I know this intuitively. I know this from the work we've done. I can feel the difference. And I think some of it too, maybe curious what you think about this or feel about this, but there's also this permission piece and realizing there's nothing wrong with you. Like I really had to look and see there's nothing wrong with me because, I'm not somebody who can like
Mm-hmm.
have that kind of harsh energy. I don't do well with that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I really think that feeling safe is the key to
Yeah.
being able to step into whatever your next level of success is. And if you didn't have a lot of stability when you were a kid, if you didn't have a lot of emotional support when you were little, I know that, we talk about childhood stuff a lot, but it really is the foundation, especially from like the day that you're born until you're about 7 or 8. You're really vulnerable and you're really open and you're just this little sponge that's taking everything in. So whatever you witnessed, if you saw
Yeah.
things that in your, today it might not be scary to you, but as a little tiny one, it might have been scary. So maybe you saw your father working 12 hours a day and then maybe he got sick, or
Yeah.
maybe you saw your mother like having to, juggle 3 jobs or whatever it might be. All of those things create impressions in you.
Right.
And then the most important thing is the most vulnerable part of you needs to feel safe in order to go beyond. And so there's all this talk about like breaking through you have to live outside your comfort zone. And,
Yeah.
I've said, I've told this to you, Julie, and it makes me laugh. It's like, my goal is to be the first millionaire who stays inside my comfort zone.
I
That's my
love
goal.
that.
But, and let me clarify though, what that means is my goal is to expand my comfort zone to be $1 million comfort zone. So right now, whatever you're making, whatever level of success you have, if you're an entrepreneur or whatever, whatever it is that you're doing, where you are, that is your comfort zone. And so the traditional idea is to push outside that comfort zone and be outside of it all the time.
Yeah.
Well, if you have any kind of, inner challenges, any emotional stuff that you grew up with, you might do that for a little while and then it's
Yeah.
going to boomerang and it's going to smack right back. So we've all heard these stories of people who've made $1 million and then they lost it all. Why is that? Because they pushed and they did everything, but they weren't really ready. They didn't
Yeah.
really match. Like you always talk about being a vibrational match for whatever it is. They
Yeah.
weren't a vibrational match for it. They didn't have the beliefs to support it. And then boom, they lose it all. And then they come back and they go, okay, let me start over. And now they know what to do. But interestingly, if you look at a lot of the people who are millionaires and billionaires, Oprah never did that. Oprah never went and like pushed out of her comfort zone and then, lost everything because she grew in public. Her comfort zone got bigger and bigger and bigger as she got more comfortable. And so she never went through that boomerang, at least not that we know of.
Right.
That I've seen so many of these, millionaires from the 1930s or whatever. You read their biographies, it's all the same. They have a boom, they have a bust. And I think it's because I don't think we're wired that way. I don't think we're wired to go like that and then
Yeah.
I think we're supposed to grow.
Okay, I just love so many things you said. I'm like, let me manage myself because I have a lot of comments. Well, and I'm thinking even we've talked about this, the idea of, you just said natural, what's organic, and you look at nature, it doesn't typically like, I don't think a flower, I don't think it just all of a sudden like goes from the bottom to like
Exactly.
raises up to the big sunflower. I mean, that doesn't
Exactly.
happen. Kind of what you're saying too, it's like, you know, for those of us that identify, and maybe we can talk in a minute, like, how do you know that you're highly sensitive? And then how do
Sure.
you do this healing path? But I'm thinking if you identify as somebody who feels emotions, feel sensitive, that type of like, just get outside your comfort zone all the time and, break through. It's very shocking. It feels shocking to my system. I
Yep.
think that's what you're saying. And I'm thinking about the flower. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not even organic or natural. That's not what happens.
Exactly. And that, the analogy that I like to use is like the day that a woman becomes pregnant is not the day that she gives birth. If she had to
Mm,
give birth the same day she got pregnant, it would be extremely traumatic for her body.
yeah.
Her body, over the course of 9 months,
Yeah.
her bones are going to start to, her pelvis is going to change and her belly is going to stretch and her uterus is going to grow. Like all these things happen so that by the time that baby is coming,
Yeah.
even though it still might be out of her comfort zone, the body's ready for it because she's expanded her capacity to maintain another life within her. It's a very similar type of a thing, I think, where we need to expand our ability to contain more energy, whether that energy is money or recognition or free time or whatever it might be. We need to expand our ability to be that, to receive that, to accept that.
Mm,
And it's a process. It's not something that you can just go to a weekend seminar and push, push, push. And in fact, when you're having a baby, it's like you're not supposed to be like forcing anything to happen. You're supposed to be moving with that energy. So, what I really recommend and I love doing is helping people become aware of what your process is. Like, where is your comfort zone? And how can we start to
mm,
very gently stretch that for you? How can we? So, you're still going to go outside of it a little bit, but you're not going to be scaring yourself because
yeah.
that's going to be counterproductive. And like you said, your adrenals will start to go. It's just not helpful. And it's just the only model that we see. And it makes me sad because there's so many of us that feel like, oh, I'm not successful because I can't do it that way. Whereas if you do it your way, it can be so fast, Julie. It can change
Yeah.
just like that. But it's not changing because you're pushing, it's changing because you're allowing.
Mm. This is, to me, it's revolutionary. I don't see a lot of this. I mean, it's one of the reasons I adore you and I love your style, and I love what you're saying because it's natural, and there's a there's an intuitive piece to this. I'm curious. So I'm just thinking for those that are listening and they're like, how do I know if I'm highly sensitive or if I'm a spiritual entrepreneur? Are there qualities you have seen with those that you've worked with or yourself or others that you
Sure,
think kind of will help, like litmus test, like you might
sure.
be this if, and then we can
Yeah.
also talk about how to find your comfort zone.
Sure, absolutely. So, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are a highly sensitive person because you and I draw highly sensitive people to us. But on a more serious note, um, highly sensitive people, first of all, everybody's sensitive. It's a spectrum. Okay. And so, like, I'm not quite an empath. My wife is an empath. I think you're an empath. Empath is kind of on a scale of 1 to 10, it's pretty much a 10 in terms of sensitivity. I'm more like a 9, 9.5. I'm pretty sensitive, but there's this whole range in between there. And so we all have some level of sensitivity, unless we're doing something to specifically dull that sensitivity, like drugs, alcohol, whatever, workaholism.
Right.
We all have that sensitivity to some level. People who are a little bit more highly sensitive, you might notice that you're highly creative. They usually go hand in hand very often. A lot of people who are highly sensitive, when I say, are you consider yourself creative? They're like, no, but they're all creative, totally creative, because we're connected in with spirit. You might notice that you have some food sensitivities. You might be really sensitive to your environment, like um, And you can be an introvert or an extrovert and still be highly sensitive. So it depends. Sometimes it's really about your awareness. If you notice things a lot, if you're like, some people can go into a building and they can feel like, ooh, something was weird in this building. Like, what happened? But because everybody's sensitive in a different way, like my wife is really great with that clairsentience, where she can walk in a building and be like, this is not a good place to work. Like, she can really tell that. I'm not sensitive in that way, but I'm very sensitive in being able to feel what's going on with other people. I can feel their emotions. I know what's going on with them. I'm able to read energy from thousands of miles away. So there's a lot of different things that you can look at to see. But I would say, if you are really attracted to these topics, if you're really creative, and if you're on a spiritual path, you're probably a highly sensitive person, because if you're not connected, you're not going to be searching, and you're not going to be, that's there's a certain level of sensitivity to even say there might be something beyond what my senses can tell me.
Oh,
Does
I
that help?
love, yeah, no, and I love this. I don't know that I've heard it that way. And I think that makes sense, that it's a spectrum.
It's totally a spectrum.
Yeah. And I will say, if you're listening and you're drawn to any of these episodes, you probably are higher on the spectrum, because
Yep.
like you said, but I love also, I think for many, and I know for myself, it used to feel like it was a challenge, to be honest, a challenge and something I didn't want to have.
Yeah.
And I love what you said, though. I hadn't really thought about it, that it's the highly creative and that deeper awareness. And it really, to me, the other word that came up was like, it's being awake.
Exactly.
It's like being awake to more than just what you're seeing before the eye.
Exactly. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can just sense. It's like, how do you know when you don't know how you know?
Right.
Because you're sensing something.
Right.
And that's the level of sensitivity. It's kind of going beyond just our five senses.
So in terms of, and then I do want to come to the chakra work that you do too, but I'm thinking like this whole success is a healing path. So that you're sensitive, or let's say someone listening is like, yeah, I think I'm a 7 or above. Like, I'm in that, that higher sensitivity space. Interest in either being an entrepreneur or perhaps have that spirit, because I know many people, in fact, I know in my world, quite a few moms that maybe haven't left to do their own thing yet, but have that spirit, or have a side coaching practice, or a side practice doing organizing or feng shui or whatever.
Or a vision, right? They have a vision of something, like they could be a mom, maybe they want to write a book or something, right?
Yes, exactly. So how do you find out your comfort zone? I think this is brilliant, because now I've learned of this through bumping into what's not my comfort zone, meaning bumping into the walls of like, well, that does not feel good at all. It's had to come that way for me in many ways, but maybe there's a kinder, softer, gentler way to figure this out.
Yeah. So can I share a story with you? I'm going to share.
Oh yeah, share whatever you want.
I want to share the story, and then let's make sure after I tell the story that we answered this question that you're asking me, because I got you. But part of what I realized is, like, I don't know, maybe it was like 15 years ago. It was a long time ago. I was in, one of these seminars in a hotel somewhere with a New York Times bestselling author who is trying to get 200 people in the room to have a breakthrough, these kind of seminar kind of things.
Oh yeah.
And very much, he was a good author, but very much like, you're gonna do it. And it was really good information, but then he was trying to take all of us at the same time through this exercise. And Julie, the exercise was that there was an arrow with a metal tip on the end. And I'm trying to remember exactly. I think it was like you were holding it up against the wall or something like that. And you put it right at the nape of your neck. And you had to like walk into the arrow. That was the exercise. And the arrow represented whatever you were afraid of, or, whatever it might be. And he got up on stage and he demonstrated it. And you see that the arrow would snap and all that. So everybody in the room is like getting up and doing this thing, and they're pushing through and blah, blah, blah. And for me, I was like, I don't want to do this. And it wasn't because I was afraid that the arrow was going to hurt me. It wasn't because of, some looming thing. The thing that I was really afraid of was the message I was sending to my subconscious mind, which is, you have to be willing to hurt yourself to succeed. And I was like, I am not doing this. I am not doing this. This is a real, and we get this message over and over again, that that's the breaking out of your comfort zone. Now, I understand, like, if you want to reach your goal and you're sitting on the sofa and you're not doing anything, you're not going to get very far. I understand that. And I understand that for the average person, most people need a kick in the butt to kind of like get them going. But when you're a highly sensitive person, that might not be the case for you. And this could be like traumatizing. So for me, I was like, my wife went up and did it because she's just like a warrior. That's how she is. And I was like, I'm just not comfortable doing this. I'm not. And the lady next to me said, there's all kinds of ways to have a breakthrough. And I took that arrow and I broke it on my leg.
Oh,
And I was like, there's the breakthrough. And the breakthrough for me was, I'm doing this my way. And hurting myself isn't going to be part of the story. So
ooh, chills all over
my
that.
Yeah.
How have I not heard this? I'm like, I've known you a long. I'm like, what? That is an amazing story.
Yeah. I felt like that was Divine Mother, like, whispering to me, there's all kind of ways to have a breakthrough. And I was like, yeah, it's not just about stay up all night and burn the candle at both ends. And then you get, chronic fatigue or whatever it might be. And I work with so many, especially the women who are just, they're like, how come I'm struggling? I'm doing all the quote right things, but they're not doing the things that are right for them energetically. And that's the piece where feedback is so important. And so you're asking me, how can we find out what my comfort zone is? Well, if you look at your life right now, you're in it. Like whatever's going on right now in your life, unless you're trying to specifically go out of it, you're probably in your comfort zone. You're earning what you're comfortable earning. You're spending time with people that you're comfortable spending time with. You're spending your days the way that you're comfortable spending it. So whatever you're doing right now, you're probably in that comfort zone. The question then becomes, how can we start to, like a little balloon, start to very gently take small steps, which I say small steps, but that doesn't mean that they're insignificant steps. They're actually, when it's something that's appropriate for you, it can have a really big impact, even though it's a small, what seems like a small step.
Okay, brilliant, brilliant. And I want to say this, even that in itself, like rewiring yourself to be okay with these, as you said, I loved it, how to take very gentle, small steps. We live, I mean, I get it. We're in a culture where it's like, I want to see the big reward, the big ending. And it's like, no, like really kind of like what nature does, or the pregnancy, which was a brilliant example. It's the, and I remember actually when I was pregnant, there was a journal. I remember this, it was every day. And I'm like, what am I looking for every day? But there was this journal that told you every day what was happening.
Yep.
And it was like, today the cells split and then they split again. And I was like, wow, let me celebrate, the cells split again. And wow, okay, now there's not just a heart, there's like a lung and another lung. Like that was a great example. And I remember this journal, which was very annoying because I really was like, I'm ready for it to be 9 months. Like, I don't want to do it,
Yeah, right. I want to just get there. I want to get to the destination.
Which is what you said in the beginning, which is there is no there. There is no there.
Yeah. And to know that it's a healing path, I think this is the place where we can be kind to ourselves, because we can feel either I'm healing or I'm successful. And I was working with a coach probably about 8 years ago who was really successful. But I noticed it's like everybody on his staff, they were all out of shape. They were all overweight. They all worked crazy hours. And I was like, there's a belief here, that doesn't really line up with me. Even though he made great money, there was a belief that in order to succeed, you have to, fill in the blank, burn the candle at both ends, whatever it might be. And I'm just here to say, that's not the path, my friends. The path to success, it's healing. Every step you take, as you feel more confident. And that's what's so important, Julie. You know this. The key to success is really confidence. You feel good about yourself. You feel good about what you're doing. You project this, especially if you have your own business, like you project this confidence. And even if you don't have your own business, like if you're a parent, having confidence is really important when you're like dealing with kids. Like they need to feel your sense of, that you're in your power. That's really, really key. And so building up that confidence is about getting feedback. A lot of us who grew up with, God bless our parents, but either they weren't available for whatever their reasons were, we didn't get the kind of feedback. Kids thrive on feedback. That's why they're always like, mom, look what I'm doing, because they want to get that feedback. It helps boost their confidence. If you didn't get that for whatever reason,
Yeah.
you can still get it. It's not like, oh, I missed out. You can still get that feedback. That's one of the things in my own work that I love. And I think with any coach and any practitioner that's really helpful is they give you specific feedback that's specific to you, because now you know, oh, I did the thing. And now, like in my case, like I look at your energy and I say, how did the thing work for you? Whether you went for a walk or whatever you did, it's showing up in your energy. It gives, like you're saying with the pregnancy book, it gives you that little boost of confidence of like, oh, it's working. And that can really make a huge difference for people.
I love this whole process and what we're talking about. It also has such an organic thread throughout it. It takes out, to be honest, even when you said confidence, I wanted to distinguish, because I think there's the ego inflated confidence, and that's not what we're talking about. The image I got was like, I saw this, the first of the year, I saw this image of like the divine holding my hand. I actually tried to draw it. It did not come out well, but I'm looking at it right now. It was like using my glitter pens to draw like my hand and what would be the divine hand.
So great.
It was just this great image of this energetic, like golden energy hand holding my hand. And to me, confidence, when you feel that power when you feel that connection, is super different than the confidence that I think we sometimes see that overtly, that ego driven. And so when you said that, I'm like, this confidence you're talking about is even that is a different type of confidence.
It really is, because, I work with the chakras all the time. So when I'm working with people, it's what I'm doing is I'm evaluating where are they, what's going on. Well, the chakra system, if you're not familiar with it, there's 7 major energy centers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so 3 is the solar plexus. That's the one where if you have confidence issues, either arrogance, which is kind of what you're talking about, or lack of confidence, it's going to show up wobbly in that 3rd energy center. But that 3rd energy center, part of its job is to support the heart center. And so this is why, if you want to do your purpose in the world, you have to feel worthy. You have to have confidence. And so some of the things, it's that confidence of knowing that you are divine, that you have a purpose, that you are, you're not better than other people, but you're not less than other people either. And when that 3rd chakra, it's like the sun, it's bright and shiny and warm. It supports that beautiful heart center. And that's where your deep wisdom, your life purpose, your ability to give and receive love, they're so connected. And a lot of the people that come to me have issues in those, because that's probably where I have issues as well. It's like, if you don't have a strong 3rd chakra, it's really hard to attract the love of your life, because you're not going to feel worthy, So there's so much that needs to happen in that 3rd center. And you're right. It's not about puffing up your ego. It's about really connecting with your true essence and being filled with power, not powerful, power filled, so that you're feeling confident in who you actually are, not who you think you need to be.
Oh my gosh, that is so well said. I'm like, we could go into the chakras for about a year. I'm like,
I know.
So you guys, you can tell. I mean, seriously, for me, this is the gift. I get like almost daily these conversations with you, Frances. And it's like, I've said, I'm like, we're going to record this because people need to hear it. And I think what you're saying, it's also, it just gives, if you were looking for permission today, permission is granted I feel like it's like our, tuning into that higher energy of allowing ourselves to, like you said, break the arrow. I love that story so much. Like, why go against the point of the arrow? Like, the breakthrough is doing it your way. And the truth is, I was thinking, I know we were talking where, it was snowing and you saw this beautiful snowflake that, had this, just all these, how each one is so different. Why wouldn't it be different, with us? We all have our unique snowflake thumbprint. So that is so powerful. I am wondering, we'll just have to do more and more, but one of the things, so we talked about, and I know when I introduced you that you are able to connect with, and I've had the really like blessing of being on the receiving end of this many times, you're able to channel both Divine Mother Mary, but also any of the archangels, any of the ascended masters. Really, you're just one of the most pure channels I have ever met, and wanted to just give a gift to everyone listening to tune into the energy of those that are listening, and just see if maybe there was a collective message that we could share.
Sure. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So when I had my experience with Mother Mary actually appeared to me in 2012. One of the gifts that she brought with her was this ability to channel. And I'd always been able to read energy, and I'd worked as a healer, but this ability to channel her, the archangels, the ascendant, like all of that, I wasn't able to do that before. So that's totally a gift, and I give all credit to the Divine Mother. Um, I'm going to listen, and I'm going to ask like what would be really helpful for the listeners, and let me see who wants to come. Is that okay?
yeah, beautiful.
Okay, so just give me a moment to see who might want to be here. Okay, so we actually have two that are here with us. One is Mother Mary as Our Lady of Lourdes. And for people who aren't familiar with Mother Mary, she comes in so many different manifestations. I almost even hesitate to call her Mother Mary because she's just such a universal energy. She's all of our Divine Mother. But one of the ways that she came was to Saint Bernadette of Lourdes in, I think it was 1858. And it's one of the most powerful healing centers and healing apparitions that's ever been recorded. And she comes to me personally as Our Lady of Lourdes. She's kind of like my personal connection with Mother Mary. But we're recording this, I think we're recording this pretty close to the date of the Feast of Our Lady of Lourdes. And so she's all about healing. So it would be appropriate that we would be talking about that since we're talking about success as a healing path. But I'm also seeing, I've been seeing this more and more lately, this purple light coming in that is Archangel Zadkiel. Archangel Zadkiel is the guardian of the seventh ray of the divine. And it's all about transmutation and freedom and being able to elevate your life through the power of forgiveness, which I love. And so they're both here right now. So let me ask them if they could give a message to our beautiful listeners. Okay. So the first message I have for everybody from Mother Mary as Our Lady of Lourdes is she's wanting to remind you, my sign here, whoop, anything is possible. Wherever you are right now, Mother Mary says, don't even think about where you are, because where you are has nothing to do with where you're headed and what's possible for you. So even if you come from an awful background, even if the situation you're in right now is like, oh my God, how's this ever going to change? Mother Mary says, where you are now is only an echo of your thoughts from the past. That's all they are. It takes a little while for our thoughts to manifest. So whatever we have now, it's just an echo of whatever was happening in the past. Right now, keep your energy centered in your heart. And as much as you can, focus on the vibration of love. So music that you love, having animals in your life that you love, eating food that you love, being around people that you love, whatever it might be, fill your life with as much of the love vibration as you can. And it's going to sound like, oh, I've heard that before. This is Mother Mary saying, do this, do this. This is the key to really start shifting your energy, because it's all about shifting our energy, expanding what's possible. So Mother Mary says, in order for you to be able to live the truth that anything is possible, you have to start opening yourself to that possibility now. Like, well, maybe just a little bit more is possible. And then you'll grow, and then you'll grow. And so that's what she's wanting everybody to hear. I'm not sure who needs to hear that specifically. And then we have Archangel Zadkiel's energy here as well. He's this beautiful purple and gold vibration. And let me take a look and see what he is wanting. Okay. So part of what Archangel Zadkiel is saying is that, he's on that ray of freedom. And a lot of times people equate success with freedom. Like, when I finally achieve this, then I'll be free. And what he says is he's wanting you to really take a look at, almost like an inventory of all the ways you're already free. All the ways you're already free. We take them for granted if we live in the West, that, we live in a country that we can pretty much do, whatever we feel called to do. The fact that you can even listen to this, this podcast whenever you want to listen to, like, there's a level of freedom. And he's really saying the more you focus on that feeling of being free and not waiting for it to arrive, like when I get to this point, then I'll be free, the more that energy will expand for you. And he actually just gave me this mantra yesterday. I was doing my own podcast, and it's just the mantra, I forgive. I forgive. You don't even need to know who or what or when, but you just mentally say, I forgive. I forgive. And what that does is it frees up your energy. You don't even have to consciously know what it is. You're sending a very loud message to the universe saying, I am not holding on to anything. So bring on the new stuff, bring on the good stuff, because I am a person who forgives and I'm going to let go. So those are the messages.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So you guys are listening. If you see this on YouTube, I actually had to grab my gel glittery pen because that calls for glitter and color and beauty. That was
Beautiful.
so beautiful. I really resonate with all of it. This idea of saying, I forgive, and not having to even go through, you may not remember or know all the people or why, but I love that, really resonated. And I felt it. I could feel it for us and for anyone listening. It just frees up the energy so that you can then, like you said, get out of the echoes of the thoughts from the past. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Oh my gosh. I love
Yay.
it. Thank you so much. That
You're
was
welcome.
so. Couple things before we close. I want to just let everyone know, yes, if you would, I know you're going to want to check out Reverend Frances Fayden and all of her amazingness. And if you go to francesfayden.com/gift, that's where you can book a free miracle meeting.
Yeah,
I love the word. I wanted to make sure I said that right. I almost said
miracle
meeting of the mind.
And make sure you spell Frances with an E, not an I. So it's Frances.
Yes.
Fayden. Yeah, that'd be great. I would love to connect with anybody and hear what you're up to and what you'd love to really bring into your life.
So beautiful. And we'll have it in the show notes as well. Of course, that will all be here. But I always like to end with, I call them heart flares. They're kind of like those bursting, I almost see like, the wings coming out of your heart that are like, hold on. It's kind of like your throat chakra connected to your heart is like, I have something else that's coming through me. And I know there might be a lot of things, but if there's like a heart flare, anything that you feel, either I didn't ask you, we didn't talk about, or anything that your heart is just like, yeah, I want to share this. So I want to give you that open mic to share heart flare if there is one.
Okay, I'm just feeling into it. So let me feel and see if there's anything else that could be shared here. Well, the thing that I'm feeling really is like from my heart to your heart is to let you know that I walk this path with you. I'm not miles and miles and miles ahead, even though I've been doing this work for a long time. Every day, one day at a time, one step at a time, we're all succeeding, one by one. And so it's really important to know that, I'm right there with you. I'm walking this healing path of success. And it's really exciting for me to have friends on the path with me, to know that we're just taking it one day at a time, one success at a time, and celebrating. It's really important to celebrate all the little successes. And so the healing path doesn't have to be heavy. It can feel like a celebration. It can really feel like a celebration. And I think that's important, because sometimes I think people think healing means, oh, it's going to be heavy. No, think of it as like going up the mountain. And as you're going up the mountain, you're dropping things off of your pack. It's like, so that as you go up, it's like, I'm letting go of that and I'm letting go of that. So by the time you get to the top of your mountain, you're like, you feel so light. And so let's make it a celebration. Let's celebrate.
Oh, I love that. That is beautiful. It actually reminded me when I was in Denali, Alaska, over 20 years ago, and went on the hardest hike I've ever done, where it started warm and then at the top was an icebergy thing. And,
oh yeah.
And how you just, every time I stopped and just, when I wasn't afraid of bears, I would see a new, really legit, there were some bears there. It freaked me out. I sang for 12 hours. You could ask 4 people there. They're on the trip with me, but I kept looking and seeing something new. And that reminds me of celebrating. You drop, I was dropping clothing or adding clothing, but it's like dropping those rocks and then really honoring what you're seeing in each step. I love that celebration, which of course, that energy, that is so beautiful because it's the energy of fun and joy and compassion. I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for being you and for being one of my dearest, closest soul sister, twin besties, just wise mentors. Reverend Francis fits a lot of hats, a lot of crowns in my book. And I just want to thank you. This was so powerful.
Thank you. So fun. I know we could talk for hours. So thank you for taking some time for me. I really appreciate it.